doing our Week 13 NFL picks against the spread. We did a live stream with Andy Isco doing the Week 13 picks, but that was 3.5 hours, actually a little bit more. So if you want an abbreviated version, here it is. But before we get to it, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit walterfootball.com for tons of content. We have NFL picks against the spread 2026 and 2027, NFL mock drafts, fantasy rankings, NFL power rankings. We grade every signing, we grade every trade, we grade every coach firing as well. It's all at walterfootball.com, and it's all free. All right, let's get to it. We have 3 Thanksgiving games, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Packers at the Lions. This line is either 3 or 2.5. I like the Packers, obviously at more than 3 than 2.5, but still, I like the Packers regardless. It seems like they have the Lions number, except when they're injured. Like the first meeting last year, Jordan Love was banged up and they lost. They actually lost the second meeting as well, but given that the Lions were a lot better than the Packers last year, they should have won by more than 3, but that was what the margin was. Otherwise, the Packers have won these games, including a Thanksgiving meeting 2 years ago where the Packers won as big underdogs. Christian Watson had a big game, and I think he could have another big game just because the Lions have been bad against the pass recently. And, I rate both these teams evenly as well. So I made the line -1.5, and getting 3 seems like a good bargain. By the way, the Lions have not done well as hosts on Thanksgiving. They're 7-12 against the spread in their last 19. And if you're wondering if they've been better with Jared Goff and Dan Campbell, they have not. They're 1-3 straight up, 2-2 against the spread. And really, they could have been 0-4 straight up, but Caleb Williams had that brain fart on that final drive last year. So I like the Packers here. It's not a big play for me. Sort of a medium. There's slightly less than medium-sized play on the Packers, but they are my favorite side on Thanksgiving. We have Chiefs at Cowboys. I like the Chiefs at -3, not so much the 3.5. I still would side with them, though. Not a big believer in Dallas. They had that great comeback last week, but they're still substantially worse than the Chiefs. The Chiefs are just still one of the best teams in the NFL. I know that they don't have the best record. They're 6-5, but really 6-3 since that ugly start when they didn't have any receivers. And there are 2 losses recently against the Bills and then at Denver. There's no shame in those defeats. So they were able to bounce back last week to beat the Colts, albeit in overtime, but that could have been a wider margin. Just the Chiefs just had some bad luck go their way, and they still were managing to get the win. So Patrick Mahomes is scrambling more, which is definitely a plus here. And if he continues to do that, I think the Chiefs win. The Chiefs usually do well in primetime anyway. And technically it's not primetime, but it's a national TV game on a holiday. I think they'll be up for this game. And I think they'll beat the Chiefs. They'll beat the Cowboys by like a touchdown or so. The final game, Bengals-Ravens. This is the toughest game to handicap because we don't know what we're going to get from either quarterback. Lamar Jackson has barely scrambled. He's had we're oddly enough, this week he's dealing with a toe injury, according to the injury report. Last week it was an ankle, and the week before that it was a knee. So it keeps moving. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a hangnail next. I don't really know what's going on there, but we do know that he's not running much. That could change, at a moment's notice. These guys are superhuman, and maybe he recovers. And Cincinnati's defense is abysmal. Trey Hendrickson's not playing, so it's even worse than usual. But then you have Joe Burrow, who could be awesome in his first game back, or he could be super rusty. We just don't know. I think this is a game we might bet live. Lots of opportunities here to do that. So stay tuned. Follow me on X at Walter Football. I'll have, I imagine I'm going to have some plays here live betting wise, but nothing pregame. And then the fourth game of this holiday romp here, we have the Eagles -7 against the Bears. I like the Eagles quite a bit here. The Bears are a team that despite being 8-3, they have a negative point differential. And I know Aaron Schatz from Football Outsider said this is the worst 8-3 team of all time, according to DPOA. The Bears have gotten so lucky this year. They have a lot of injuries. They have the worst pass rush in the NFL. So I don't think Lane Johnson's absence is going to mean that much. They're missing both their linebackers, so they're going to be weak against the run. And we saw Ashton Genty have a great game against the Bears back in week 4. And the Bears are even healthier than they are now. So Saquon Barkley, who has not run well, could have a rare good game here. you just have to worry about the Eagles collapsing in the second half. So if you bet the Eagles and they're up big at halftime, just consider maybe hedging with the Bears at halftime. So that's probably what we're going to do. This is my biggest game of the holiday slate here. Moving on to the Sunday games, we have Texans at the Colts. The line's 4.5 in favor of the Colts. Everyone's looking at the obvious matchup. Colts offense, which has been one of the best in the NFL. Texas defense, one of the best in the NFL. But what about the other side? Because that one's even. You have Texans offense, which can't block at all. Their offensive line is abysmal against the Colts defense that has been, slightly above average this year. They have a good pass rush. I feel like that's the biggest matchup edge in this game. I feel like the Colts should be able to win by margin here. I'm not a big fan of the Texans just because they can't block. And people are eager to bet them. They're coming off 3 straight wins, including a national TV win against Buffalo. I think that's going to put people on the bandwagon. And, as a contrarian, I like to fade the bandwagon. So, especially when it's not warranted. So we're going to be on the Colts here. Not like a big play, though. It's just a lean. This is a lean as well. Cardinals at the Buccaneers. Teddy Bridgewater is not going to be as bad as he was last week against the Rams. Number 1 defense in the NFL. Bridgewater had no starting reps. He's going to be more prepared here, and we sometimes see average or better teams rally around their backup, which I think could happen here. But Arizona is not as bad as people think, despite their 3-net record. 6 of their 8 losses were at the final minute. Really could have gone either way, and if like half of them did, and instead of being 3-8, they were 6-5. This line would certainly not be plus 2.5. They would be favored, which I think is the correct line. So on one hand, we're getting motivation for Tampa. On the other hand, we're getting an off line. At plus 3, I like the Arizona more. At plus 2.5, not really interested, but I would side with them if I had to. Jaguars at the Titans. This could be the upset of the week. If you like Jacksonville and want to take him in Survivor, I'd be very careful because Jacksonville has Indianapolis coming up, so they could be unfocused, especially given that they're coming off an overtime game. And speaking of which, they had to go to overtime against Arizona. They had to go to overtime against the Raiders. The Jaguars might be 7-4, but they're not a 7-4 team. They're like more 5-6-ish. And the Titans have been slightly better. They've covered the spread in 3 straight games. Cam Ward is running more, which he didn't do at all to start the year for some reason. I don't know why, but he is scrambling more. Shamari Dike has emerged as a good weapon. He's scored 2 punt returns in the last 3 weeks. And the Titans defense has been better with Jeffrey Simmons. So I'm not saying the Titans are a good team. I'm not even saying they're an average team. I'm not even saying they're a bad team. They're still awful, but they're still better than they were before. They covered against the Texans a couple weeks ago. If they can do that, they can cover against the Jaguars. So I'm on Titans plus 6.5. Not going to bet the worst team in the NFL, but if I had to bet this game, it would be on the home dog. A game I am betting, Rams at the Panthers. Rams are minus 10 or 10.5. I love the Rams in this spot. The last time the Panthers, and people are going to say they play better at home. The last time they played an elite team like this at home, they lost 40-9 against Buffalo. I think this could be similar. Carolina's off a short week. Anytime you get a bad team, Carolina has a negative like 46 or 50 point differential. Anytime you get a bad team on a short week compared to the other team, you have to fade them just because bad teams, they need all the practices they can get, all the prep time they can get to beat a great team like this, and they're not going to get it. And Rams just have such a better situational edge here. The Rams are playing across the country, but then again, the Panthers are also traveling west to east because remember they played in San Francisco. So the Rams have actually done well in these 1:00 East Coast games. Sean McVay, 11-6 against the spread, 1:00 East Coast games. And that actually includes the loss to the Eagles where they were up 26-7 and had a blocked field goal. So if that turns into a win, they're 12-5, so even better. But, 11-6 is still a good number. I trust Sean McVay here. The Panthers have a lot of defensive injuries. Their top corner's out. One of the best linebackers is out. McVay is going to find a way to exploit this weakness. So the Rams should be able to win rather easily here. And I think I might bet the minus 20.5 alt line. If the Rams are coming off a loss, I definitely would. I'm not sure if I'm going to do that here, but you'll know on the site if I do. Saints at the Dolphins. This line is Dolphins minus 5.5, still 6 at one sportsbook. It's kind of scary how much I like the Saints here because they're an awful team, but the Dolphins are awful as well. I know they won 3 in a row, but they were so lucky to beat the Redskins in Spain. They needed an interception in overtime and a fumble on a muff punt. Otherwise, they probably would have lost that game, and they really should have beaten the Redskins by more because they had such a big edge with Devon Achane against those horrible linebackers. Achane is the strength of the team, and they're not going to be able to run on the Saints. The Saints are good against the run, and the Dolphins don't really do anything else well. They're just a horrible team on both sides of the ball. The Saints can at least stop the run. They have Chris Olave, and I know the Dolphins have Jalen Waddle as well. But we're talking about 6 points here, 5.5 points. This is not a pick 'em game. If this were a pick 'em game, it would be harder to pick. But +6, +5.5 with the Saints, like I really don't see the Dolphins like in most scenarios winning this game by 6 or more. I think this should be a field goal game, or maybe the Saints even win. The Saints won to Carolina by 10, and Carolina is better than Miami. So. Carolina beat Miami earlier this year. So I think the Saints are the right side here. I know they lost to the Falcons, but the Falcons are better than the Dolphins. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to lose to Miami. And keep in mind, Miami is coming off a win and the bye week. They've had 2 weeks to hear about how great they were in that international game. I think they could be in a rough spot here against the Saints. Falcons at the Jets. Yeah, this is a low number. I thought we'd see a higher number given that the Falcons just coming off a win. Kirk Cousins looked better than people thought he would, but then again, it is still Kirk Cousins. Is a little scary. I might bet Atlanta for a small amount. Just a little worried about Cousins maybe regressing to the mean after a solid win, but who knows? Maybe he's going to be better than he was last year because he's not coming off the torn Achilles. So I could see him maintaining. And the Jets are a horrible team too. So I don't think the Falcons should have much of an issue against the Jets. And if you're like thinking this Falcon team, they got blown up by the Panthers earlier. They lost to the Panthers again a couple weeks ago. Keep in mind that they were very jet lagged. They had an 11-hour flight after that grueling overtime win again, or overtime game, I should say. It was a loss against the Colts. Just consider, how the Falcons have played 2 of the last 3 games. You throw out the jet lag game, they take the Colts to overtime, and they beat the Saints where they were underdogs. So I think that they are not getting they're kind of like people kind of written them off given that they're 4-7. But if you think about it, they are only 2 games back of the Buccaneers, who don't have Baker Mayfield for the next week or 2. So there's a chance that, if they win this game and Tampa loses, they're only 1 back, and they have to play Tampa again, there's a chance that they could catch Tampa. So I would not write them off yet. I don't think they're that bad of a team. They have a good pass defense. Bijan Robinson's awesome. And if Kirk Cousins is not as bad as some people think, then they could certainly win this game. So this is, like I said, a small player, maybe medium play, not nothing huge here. 49ers to the Browns. So I love the 49ers last week. They had circadian rhythms going their way, but more importantly, they had Kyle Shanahan against the defense missing lots of personnel. So Kyle Shanahan, an offensive guru, he can really figure out teams' weaknesses and exploit them. But the Browns don't have a weakness. They have at least defensively, they have a great defense. I don't think Shanahan's going to have a great game plan here. And Brock Purdy was an interception machine against Carolina. Like, if he's throwing 3 picks against Carolina's awful defense, like, what's he going to do against the Browns? That really worries me. If I were a Niner fan, I'd kind of be wondering if Mac Jones could replace Purdy, because Purdy doesn't seem like he's 100%. So, I'm going to side with the Browns. Not excited about it because it's Shedeur Sanders, but I do like Cleveland a little bit here. Team like a lot is Seattle, -11.5 for the Vikings. Big mismatch edge on both sides of the ball. The Vikings defense has not been very good this year. They're better since they got Van Ginkel back, but they haven't been great. And then they're even worse offensively because they're starting Max Brosmer, who was the quarterback in New Hampshire for 4 years. He's a smart guy. He's accurate, but he has 0 arm strength and no mobility. He looks like at the very best, he's going to be an average backup in the NFL, but he may not hang around for too long. So he's going against a Seattle defense that's top 3. Anytime you get a horrible quarterback against a top 10 defense, they have a very low cover rate. It's like 33-35%. So the Vikings just look like they're in a horrible matchup here. And the spot very, very much favors Seattle. This is a big revenge game for Sam Darnold. So he and his teammates are really going to be up for this game. I think Seattle wins very easily here. This could be the game where I bet the minus 20.5, even though the line is high to begin with, but I really don't see this game being close. Bills at the Steelers. I like the Bills at minus 3.5. I would love minus 3, and it's you can get that at Bet 365 right now. But the Bills coming off a loss, and not just a loss, they've had extended time to hear about how bad they were on national TV against Houston. I think they rally here, and it's a much easier defense this time. The Steelers have a bunch of injuries; they're not good against the pass or the run. They can get to the quarterback, but James Cook being able to run here a lot better than he did against Houston should be able to keep Josh Allen safe in short yardage situations. And Buffalo's defense could improve against the run if Matt Milano gets healthy. And you have the Steeler team that really is going to have issues scoring points because, first of all, they don't run all that well. But second, Aaron Rodgers, even if he plays, he's not 100%. He missed practice Wednesday, so it kind of shows that he's not completely healthy. And then DK Metcalf probably not going to play. So the Steelers are not going to have their only viable receiver. Kind of reminds me of last year when they didn't have George Pickens for a while and they just couldn't score at all. They're just dreadful. So Buffalo here for sure. I like them quite a bit. Raiders, Chargers. We had our Wednesday stream. Andy Isco had a good argument for the Chargers. I'm more likely to be on the Raiders, but not as a bet. I can't bet this team. The Raiders offensive line is abysmal, but so is the Chargers. And so these teams should be able to pressure each other. Don't really see too many points scored here. The Chargers scored 6 points against Jacksonville 2 weeks ago. The Raiders actually scored more against the Browns, who have a better defense than Jacksonville, much better defense. So this line is 10, 9.5, 10. Can the Chargers even get to 10? That's a big question because they didn't do that against Jacksonville. But here's the one caveat is that Jim Harbaugh is a great coach, is coming off a bye. There's a chance that in the 2 weeks he's had to prepare for this game, he's going to figure something out with the offensive line, get some sort of formation going that is going to make things better. I don't necessarily think that's really going to happen, but there's a chance it does, and I don't want to be on the other end of that. So, like I said, this is Raiders for me as a small opinion play, but I'm not going to bet this game. Broncos at Redskins. This could be just a look behind game. So the Broncos have the Raiders next week, and so not a look ahead. But the Broncos beat the Chiefs before the bye, and they've had 2 weeks to hear about how great they were. And so I don't really know if they're going to play at their best against the Redskins, although they do have a great matchup on both sides of the ball. You have the Denver defense against Mariota, and then you have RJ Harvey, who's an explosive back against the slowest linebackers in the NFL. So if Denver plays at 100% efficiency, if they show up to this game, take it seriously, if you told me they would do that, I would bet all over Denver. But I'm not sure they're going to do that. It's just a bad spot, so just going to avoid this game. But I would lean Denver if I had to. And then the last game, Giants at the Patriots. The Patriots lost their Will Campbell, their left tackle. Jarrett Wilson's out, so missing 2 linemen. Although Wilson's not that great, they're still missing 2 linemen against a Giants pass rush that's superb. So that's a nice edge for the Giants. And Jackson Dart is surely going to be back. At least we think so. And given that he's had multiple weeks to recover from his concussion, I don't think returning from the concussion is going to be too bad because usually quarterbacks struggle coming off concussions. But I think Jackson Dart has a good chance to keep this game close or maybe get a backdoor cover. The Patriots recently, not too convincing. I know they've had some great wins this year, but against the Bengals hung around for a while. That should not have happened. Against the Jets, they were lucky to cover, getting a field goal at the end. So yeah, I'm not eager to bet the Patriots at minus 7.5. If I had to take a side here, it would be the Giants. So those are the WalterFootball.com Week 13 NFL picks against the spread. Let me know what you think. Am I way off on some of these picks? Who do you like the most? Please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, please hit like, subscribe, share this video, and visit WalterFootball.com for tons of free NFL content. Every single day we have something new. So check that out, and I will talk to you in the next video.